So now we've made it to 16 weeks. And how are you feeling?
I feel a lot better, although it was a normal weekend, me cleaning frantically because I feel like I need to clean the apartment top to bottom every weekend. And I went to, instead of making our son pick up his toys, I was like, I'll just help him, and help put away his toys. And I went to go bend down to pick up his toys, and I'm like, whoa, I can't really bend like that anymore. I have to do almost like a full body squat instead of, bending from my hips because, I'm showing a little bit more and the bump is out a little bit more. It's like, okay, there's something there. So I've been doing the squats now, but I don't know if you guys know, after 30, your knees are just not as great as they as they used to be. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. So I just kind of find myself sitting on the floor and picking up the toys now, and just staying in one spot and trying to grab everything, just because bending is now an issue for me, which is a lot sooner from our first pregnancy, obviously, because I wasn't showing as much. But yeah, this bump is, getting in the way.
And how much sooner do you think this is happening to you?
I would say a good 3 to 4 weeks sooner that I was showing before. It's insane.
Wow. Good luck with that. I hear it only gets worse from here.
I know. I'm Fatima.
And I'm Brian. You're listening to Millennial and Pregnant.
We're talking through another pregnancy, but this time we're doing it with our 3-year-old.
We think we know what to expect this time around, but somehow it still feels new. Today, we're talking about our anxieties around welcoming another kid to our family. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast, with everything you need in one place. In fact, this season of Millennial and Pregnant was produced and hosted on Anchor. Here's what I love about it. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. This made it easier for me to edit my episodes on the go. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. One of my favorite pregnancy products has arrived. Your pregnancy.
There's definitely some sarcasm in
No,
in
it's
that
not.
statement.
It's not.
Our bed got a little bit more crowded, yet our 3-year-old is sleeping in his bed all night.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the return of...
I don't have a drum beat. The pregnancy pillow. I find it to be so comfortable.
For those who don't really know how the pregnancy pillow is, it's like this. It's curved at the bottom and at the top, and it's the length of your body, maybe longer if you're shorter, and you're supposed to kind of just hug it, right?
Yeah, I guess
it helps. You put your legs on one leg on the other side. It's supposed to help for you to, especially if you don't feel comfortable sleeping on your side, help and assist with that, and be a little bit more comfortable when you're pregnant and lying down, because it's not always the most comfortable thing in the world.
But why I was bringing it up, it wasn't sarcasm, because when I curled up in it the other night, I was so it was so comfortable, and I forget how comfortable it was. And it's one of those, I feel like it's one of those pillows that when you're done using it, that I kind of want to keep here.
We kept it for a while in
storage, but I want to keep it out so that I could watch TV, be comfortable. Like you when laying down on the floor, it would be great if laying down on the floor and you need that kind of like a pillow to prop you up. That's like the pillow.
Yeah. I mean, you're supposed to be also that I don't really use the suggestions, but you're supposed to be able to fold it and however else that you can, it's used in multiple ways. The only thing, though, is if you tend to switch sides all the time. So if I go to use the bathroom and okay, I want to switch sides because my hip hurts or something, I have to flip the thing over and flip the pillow with me. It could be a little inconvenient when you're trying to just move nicely. You have to move the pillow with you. But other than that, it was a gift from my sister, my older sister, who like just shipped it to me in the mail for the first pregnancy. And I was like, this is great. Didn't even know I would really need it. And sure enough, like I felt, like I said before, everything seems like the timeline with everything seems to be shifted up a lot. Like I was on the phone, I was FaceTiming my sister, and she's like, why do I feel like you just like drastically just became really pregnant? I was like, I don't know, but I do feel really pregnant, and I'm still so early on, so I don't know what's really happening there. Anyways, she shipped it to me, and I didn't think I needed it, and then I think it was like 18, 19 weeks, and I hit that, and I was like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. And that's when I was like, thank you so much for sending me this pillow. But yeah, we should name. I think the pillow needs a name.
A name?
Mm-hmm. I'll have to think about it.
Yeah.
Could you imagine having that pillow and our son in the bed? Poor Brian would have no space.
I would go back to our son's room and
just
fall asleep in his bed.
I was like, we should really get him a twin size bed because
I think it's almost time.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to anyways, and might as well do it now because it's more comfortable. Because I will go in there if he wakes up in the middle of the night, I'll go in there to put him back to sleep, and I end up laying on the ground, and I fall asleep. And sometimes I fall asleep for an hour. Sometimes I fall asleep for 3 hours. And other times I fall asleep for the remainder of the night. So I go in there at midnight and I come out of there at 6:30 in the morning.
The cutest thing, though, is when he started to see you sleep on the floor in the morning and climb down and start cuddling with you.
He used to wake up because he has one of those barrier things, gates so he doesn't fall out of the bed, but he can still get out of the bed. And he'll wake up and see me and go, "Hi, Dada. Hi, Dada." And I'll look at him and I'll be like,
that's a great impersonation.
Yeah. "Hi, Dada." And I'll look at him and I'll say, I don't want to get up right now. Do you want to come snuggle with Daddy? He's like, okay. And he'll get up. He'll shift his little butt over to the edge of the bed where he can get out. Comes out and then just like gets on the floor. And he like lifts up the covers and then like starts snuggling with me. I'm like, okay. And I grab him and we just like, we've fallen asleep like maybe twice there on the floor.
Yeah.
Once for maybe 20 minutes and another time for an hour.
And then lucky me, I just have the entire bed to myself.
And then you get the whole bed to yourself with the pregnancy pillow. But maybe I should use the pregnancy pillow when I put him down for bed.
So then he thinks it's you?
No, so it's comfortable for me.
Oh. So we're going to be purchasing a second one.
Because right now I just bring my pillow in there to lay down, and I'll tilt my phone on the side, so it's like watching TV, laying down, and my side hurts because I'm sleeping on my side, so our son can see my face because that's the only way he will go to sleep, is if he sees my face. So I have to face him, and so I just watch so many shows this way, and it's just like really starting to hurt my side. And so I've been putting blankets down to act like a little cushion. But maybe the pregnancy pillow might be
I think
helpful.
we maybe not the pregnancy pillow, like you said before. We might just get the twin
pillow.
bed so you can lay next to him in the twin bed. Probably fall asleep there too.
Probably.
Whatever. I don't really care. I go to sleep. I'm fine. A couple of times I try to save you and walk in there, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let him be.
And it was great because you would come in, then I'd be able to come right back to bed, and it was much more comfortable. However, I would be still very tired because you woke me up in the middle of the night. So I said, just stop. Don't come get me. Let me sleep there. So at least I sleep all night. And if he does wake up, he sees me sleeping there and then goes back to sleep. Whereas, if he's going to toss and turn, I'll let him toss and turn in his own bed. Whereas he comes into our bed and tosses and turns, and then none of us sleep. So I've just given up. I just did that. But we're going to have a second one on the way. And you get to do that again. And I hope by the time that this new baby comes that our first son will go to sleep and stay asleep a lot longer.
But on the subject of sleep and, with the new baby coming and like, what do we like and what do we feel like we're more prepared for? I feel like now having the snoo right when we bring the baby home will make our lives a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, I think we were, a month and a half in when we got it the first time. And they even said, like, it works much better if you have it right when the baby's home. They're much more used to it. And our son is the most stubborn, reluctant person for change ever. So, obviously, when we didn't know that in the very beginning, now we truly know that it would have been more ideal. He would have probably liked it a lot better if that was, like, what he knew as a bed when he first came home. So, I feel like having that now in the beginning is going to make it so much easier for us.
Because he only knew our arms.
Yeah.
If you listen to the first season,
Mm-hmm.
he only knew our arms. And he would only sleep in our arms for a consistent amount of time, a long periods of time.
Yeah. I mean, that's all he was really
he wouldn't
doing.
Sleep in his bed, in his bassinet, until we got the snoo. And having that to give my arms a break, that was great. So now we have that from the beginning, from day one.
And I'm so excited about it. Plus, it's nice and small. We don't have to put up a giant crib in our bedroom because, they recommend you have the baby sleep in your room for like the first 6 months or so to prevent, sudden infant SIDS. So I was
and just for other kind of monitoring.
Yeah, monitoring and if they have to share a room, they're going to be sharing a room together. A newborn and a 3-year-old, no.
And it makes it so much easier if for feedings, for any type, if you're breastfeeding, and just maybe feeding in general, it's right there.
Yeah, literally just like grab them out of their bassinet or crib. It's just easier having them in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited about that.
And we have some other favorite things we had with our first son. We had this swing. He did not like it, but we have it. So hopefully this one will.
Oh my God, he hated that thing. I just don't even get it because I was like, you're all about the motion, kid. But I think just the idea of like me looking at him while he's sitting in the swing, it was just like, no.
He wanted to be in your arms.
Yeah. So, and we got it because my brother had it for his daughter and she loved it. Both kids liked it.
Yep.
I don't think they had it for the third kid, but both kids love this thing. They would fall asleep. Like, he would I'll just let them nap and just sit there while they nap in it because they love the thing so much. I was like, gotta get it. And no.
Nope. But we have the Moby wrap.
Yes.
That was really great at least for newborn. And then this other carrier, when they get a little older, having that was just a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Carrying them around.
The Moby was great because it's just the way it held the baby with them being so small. But as he started to get heavier, the straps would just kind of dig into my arm. And I was like, okay, now I need more of a support. And so we had the other carriers. I wasn't going to be the whole, let's get 2 of whatever for stages. But definitely carriers, I feel like there's ones that work best for when they're new. If you're really into the baby wearing when they're first out the womb. And then there's the ones where they're heavy and you need some support if you don't want to break your back, kind of heavy. So the second one was really, really useful. Although I think, Brian, you mostly carried the baby.
I did.
He was all about the baby carrying.
I was all about that. I was all about that wrap, that Moby.
All about it.
All about it. I took a couple weeks off, once Fatima went back to work. After maternity leave, I then took 2 more weeks off, and because I had gone back a few weeks before you, and I took 2 weeks off, and I'd be wrapping him up around me, cleaning. It was the best.
I know.
And the wrap just felt like part of you. It didn't feel like a carrier, so it was just so easy to kind of carry him around.
although I would say, like, once again, I would think it was just a reluctance of something was new. When I would wear the carrier, would be like, oh, no, I don't like it. And I couldn't do anything. I just would be sitting on the couch. Then I come home when Brian's with the baby by himself and the house is clean. There's a candle burning. There's like dinner made. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I can never. And even as he got older, I'm like, we had the little jumper thing, the entertainment. What do we call it? Like I
call it the command center.
The command center, like, had all these things. And we could just, when he was obviously being able to hold his head up, I think it was he was able to hold his head up sooner, but
it's all a blur at this point.
It's all a blur. I think it was like 6 months or so, though, that we were putting him in this thing. And Brian could put him in, do all this stuff. I go to put him in, and it's like, okay, mommy, you have 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and then I'm going to start screaming. So you better do whatever you need to do in 5 minutes. So typically it would just be like using the bathroom. Like, I would just keep the door open, throw him in the command center while he watched me use the bathroom. And that would be my 5 minutes of hands-free without our son. So, I mean, even now, that's his love language. That's like how, he expresses himself through, giving hugs and kisses and hugging. And he loves when you snuggle up with him. So I just think that just was ingrained in him as a person. Yes, we held him a lot, but I would do it all over again. I feel like sometimes I look on Instagram or somewhere else and they're like, their parents are so happy when their kid like gives them a hug or something, because they're usually some kids are not as affectionate. That's just like how you're wired. Probably people would say that about me. But no, not our son. He loves to be like, he just loves that. I mean, obviously from the people he knows, he could be really standoffish if he's like, I'm not really feeling you. Like, he'll let you know if he's feeling you. Like, so I think that having these things in the beginning is going to make things a lot easier. We have things that didn't work and worked, and so we can switch it out. I'm just hoping this one won't be a stubborn Taurus, that's for sure. So I think that they'll adapt a little bit better than our first child. We love him. He's like the best thing in the world, but he's stubborn.
He's so stubborn. But, look who he comes from. I'm talking about
you.
I'm not talking about just you.
Okay.
I'm talking about both of us. Mostly me. And I think this time around, I'm also prepared for sleep expectations. My sleep expectations. And knowing
the no sleep.
The sleep expectations with a kid already. And then a newborn, that's what gives me anxiety.
Yes. I guess, once again, like, the good thing is we have a bigger space. So hopefully having that separation, the baby won't wake up. The other baby will hopefully work. And I think also just knowing how it feels. Like, people no, this is a totally different sleep deprivation. This is not
week.
This is not finals week, pulling an all-nighter. There are times that I worked until like 2:00 in the morning, but like, you can have caffeine. Like, if you're breastfeeding, probably, like, you most likely are not having caffeine. Or when you actually go to sleep, you're sleeping for at least, like, I don't know, 4 hours or so, like, sleeping consistently with, like, not having to worry about anything else. And
other than yourself,
this is totally different. Like, even I don't think I've been in a deep sleep for the last 3 years. No, 4 years if you count the pregnancy, because I was getting up to pee like every 2 seconds. I still am getting up to pee. So like, I'm at this baseline of just always being tired. And so like, I'm not too far from the sleep deprivation, although like, I still very much remember just like how desperate we felt and how tired we were. But that also goes into like our rules of like, we probably didn't really set how we wanted to handle the night wake ups, because to even set it up for you guys, not that we just avoided the conversation, but we have nephews and nieces who love to sleep. Like, they were good sleepers. Like,
Yep,
they woke up sometimes to eat, but then they would go right back to sleep. Like, that's what we were used to, the kids that were in our families. And there were, 3 newborns that came before our son. So I was like, we're good. Like, we know kind of like somewhat what to expect. Like, I can get up for a couple times. Like, I've been doing it to pee. I just got to stay up a little bit longer, feed the baby go back to sleep. No, that didn't happen here. And so, like, we felt like we both had to get up and, like, you know, one person changes the diaper, the other one feeding, and it was just whole production, lights turned on, and we're like, no, like, we need to, like, figure this out. And so, you know, with breastfeeding, obviously, I think maybe we probably have to talk about that later in the next episode, but maybe being more open to pumping, like, at some point at night, so that we can give the baby the bottle, because that was also a challenge when we were doing it, and then going to the, you know, breastfeeding consultant. She's like, like, you want to be exclusive, or all the things read like exclusive breastfeeding, but that makes it very hard if you're expecting to, like, just be separate from your baby at any point and, like, going back to work, or just allowing Brian to actually, like, fully help me and help with those nighttime feedings. You know, probably in the first month or so, I'll do exclusive, you know, breast milk, you know, from the boob. But then after that, it's like, okay, let's time this. Like, I will pump at this time, and then you feed the baby and you're up, because most likely they're not going to just fall asleep right after. So then I can go back to sleep after I'm done pumping, and then we switch and alternate like that. Because before, we would just, like, we were a little bit of a hot mess. And then you were thinking of all the suggestions of, like, how to get this baby to sleep. White noise. And I was against it. I was like,
so against the white noise. I
it was
didn't understand
annoying.
why. I know it was annoying.
I'm like, how is this
But it worked.
possibly? Yeah. And he still, to this day, they say you're supposed to probably have weaned them, but it's kind of like white
when
noise.
When you live in the city and there are noises,
you need
the white noise.
He has had naps without it, obviously. But white noise, I mean, to a point where you started to get used to it, and
When it left our room, when the white noise left our room, and then when our son left our room, I was craving the white noise.
You're like, I need to have
I'm
this.
like, it's too quiet now.
So I think just the being more prepared this time around with making sure we've have that schedule or have that communication about what exactly are we expecting, especially because you just cannot make decisions when you're super
Delirious.
Like, I think I yelled at you. There might have been tears. There was a lot going on.
Yeah.
But we made it through.
Yeah. We probably both yelled at each other and over, you know, making up the bed. How the bed should be made. But yeah, I think our roles being established. Kind of like, anything else you think you're prepared for? I think
I would just say that's it. I mean, you could have all the products.
Then maybe that was a good, you know, I think knowing that you can prepare all you want, but you'll still be unprepared. And we went into that way thinking and knowing that's how we should go into this, I think is why we were prepared. Go into this with expectations, knowing that those may not be the expectations.
Just being very flexible with, like, okay, like, this might not go as planned. Because just seeing it through my pregnancy, but every baby is also very different. So, you know, I'm going to be just open. Let's see what happens.
So I went back to last season's episode where we were talking about our anxieties. And these are what you were anxious for with our first son's birth. And so you said you were most anxious for labor, early delivery, which happened, breastfeeding, and you were excited. Well, we'll start with anxieties. I was anxious about helping you in the labor room, when we have to go to the hospital. So I'm like, how am I going to deliver this baby at home? And then once we left the hospital and go home, it was kind of like, okay, what now? That's what I was anxious about. Do you still feel anxious about labor?
Do I feel anxious about labor? I mean, I guess it brings a little bit of anxiety, right? But I guess most of it was around the unknown, which is still very much unknown. But I do have better expectations of what it feels like to start going into labor, because I think before I was like, well, what do these contractions exactly feel like? And like the beginning part of like, oh, you're about to give birth. So I knew a little bit by watching a couple of documentaries. I forget the one. The Business of Being Born.
Okay. Yep.
So I had watched that really, really, really good documentary. I think Ricky Lake.
Yep, Ricky Lake
was the one in that. Really good. So I kind of knew a little bit from that, talking with obviously my mother. And I don't know, at the time we didn't have any friends that gave birth. So just kind of just reading stories. I love to find like a good article. I don't really like reading entire books, but I will find like a good article that kind of breaks it down for you. I could read it in one little I could read it in one little session. It's great. I do read a ton of articles. I try to. So I feel like I knew a little bit from there, like with like the whole inducing part and how that might impact your labor and stuff and Pitocin. And I knew that I didn't want that. I knew I didn't want to be induced. I knew I wanted to try as natural as possible. And, you know, God bless my mother. She had no epidurals in all of her deliveries. So I also wanted to do that and try that out too. Spoiler alert, I use it in the very last second. So I kind of had an idea and expectations about how I wanted to go into things, but also knew that I could go a little bit different and being open to that. And I think also having an opportunity to have my mom in the delivery room the first time, which with the times that we're in now, I'm probably only going to have one person come into in the delivery room. So sorry, Brian. Just kidding. Brian. I joked. I'm like, my mother's my doula. But
it's like an episode of Smothered.
No, not even close. Although we've been kind of, that's like one of my guilty pleasures right now. Yeah, it's really bad. But her coming into the delivery room and just being like, you know, if you're in pain, like it's okay to have the epidural. So like just hearing those things and reminding yourself and like having that experience back in my mind will remind me the second time coming around that like it's okay to shift away from your plan and how you thought things were going to go and just see how your body's taking it. Maybe the contractions and stuff are just a little bit too much. You're not going to really like fully be able to be present with giving birth. So I would say like it's still there, but it's changed and it's less severe around the labor because I also know things can go very different.
For early delivery, are you still anxious about early delivery? Because our first one was 3 weeks early. So that I almost rather that. Would you rather like a surprise?
Brian's like, okay. Right. Tell me more about would you rather in this labor and delivery journey. So I mean, yeah, pregnancy is 40 weeks. That's why they count it in weeks and not months. And like they would consider you full term, I think at 36 or 37, and I was right on the mark with 37. So I think I would consider that full term, and I wouldn't consider that early. So I'm prepared at the 37 or 40 week mark. I have known people who's been late and like you know a week or two, and I've heard that that's like miserable. Yeah. So I think I'd rather that time frame. Any earlier, I think yes, it would be stressful because your baby grows so much at the end of the pregnancy. So even a week difference is key. So, you know, I had that scare or whatever in the first pregnancy where I was like 32 weeks or something like that. So I was like, that is just way too early. your first moments with your baby, the babies, they can survive during that time or whatever. I just think it changes the experience. It does make things a little bit harder. And you're going through so much as a new mom. So like having to stress about, you're essentially separated from your baby for weeks at a time until they get stronger. So that's still an anxiety that I have. I think any parent would have, but not letting that overtake, because stress can make you go into early labor. So I try to not really think about it too much. They do say the second kid comes quicker. So I'm like, hopefully not too quick. But yeah, I'm kind of just crossing my finger for at least the 37-week mark.
And are you, you were anxious about breastfeeding. Are you still anxious about breastfeeding again? I know you found a great product in the pregnancy pillow.
Yeah, the pregnancy pillow and the
breastfeeding pillow.
pregnancy pillow.
I still keep thinking about that pregnancy pillow. It's so comfortable.
The breastfeeding pillow, because the first one just was, in my opinion, sucky. It just didn't support the baby that much. But also the nipple shield helped in that transition when I felt like, is the baby getting enough? And then seeing them drink from the nipple shield, which is, ladies and guys, if you're listening, it's just like it's like a plastic.
It looks like a suction cup.
Yeah, plastic suction cup type thing, because you have to kind of wet it a little bit and put it to your breasts, and it goes over your nipple, and it acts like a bottle type nipple over your own nipple, so that the whole thing in the beginning is getting the baby to latch onto your nipple, and it's like this whole smack in there. You pretty much like smack the boob in their mouth. It's insane. I'm like, what? Like no one talks about this. Like, you think I'm gonna be in this field of like sunflowers and the baby's gonna nicely no, like in the beginning like part of it, you have to really help the baby latch on. Anywho, so that product was really helpful, and the lactation consultant from the hospital gave that to me when she saw that I was really worried that by the time our son actually stayed awake long enough, because that was the whole thing, I couldn't even practice the latching thing because he fell asleep every single time.
Every time.
So she gave me that, and then also the formula.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like knowing that, one, your milk supply doesn't come in right away. Two, the baby can be so tired and young that it's really hard for them to latch. So it's okay. Like, I took a few of those bottles home. We used it in the first day or so being home, and I was fine with it. Like, and I was okay. At first, obviously, I think I talked about in the beginning, you have all these emotions, mostly hormones, but being able to step back, I'm like, that's totally okay. So I hopefully that logic outweighs some of the emotions I'll feel. If I have to do supplement, I think I would feel a lot better about the process.
And then for myself, helping in labor, I don't think I'm anxious about that, because I helped.
You did help
the first time. I'm not anxious about helping again or what to do. I think I know what I need to do, and I was advocating for you in the room, so I'll continue to do that. When to go to the hospital, I don't know. Do I feel anxious about that still?
I guess being further away, I think knowing what we know of the first moments of being in labor, we probably would have went that night instead of the morning. I think
maybe.
And they would have kept us longer.
No, we weren't timing your contractions.
Yeah, we had,
So, but by the time you were there, you were 4 centimeters?
3.
3 centimeters. Oh, 3 centimeters. Like, we're watching Friends, and Rachel was 3 centimeters for a whole episode.
Yep.
And then leaving the hospital and going home. No, I don't think I'm anxious about that. I don't really know what I'm anxious about. I think I'm just anxious about juggling a newborn and then our son.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to like.
Not that our son wouldn't get along with having a newborn around, but I think it's just, what like you said earlier, defining our roles, knowing what those are, and then okay, who's taking what kid?
Well, and to be fair, when we had the newborn, it was just us two. When the baby was sleeping, even if we were holding them, we can sit down and we can watch a movie. We binge watch all these things. we can't necessarily do that. It's going to be like, okay, one person gets the rest and the other person has to entertain and like give attention to the other kid and switching off because you don't want them to feel completely abandoned by the father or the mother. You know, you can have conversations. I think he's just so young. I think he kind of would understand, but at the same time, he's really young, so he's not going to understand, wait, you both can't go to the park with me?
I know.
What does that mean? So I've been kind of setting and planting the seed. I'm like,
today.
Mommy and Daddy, like, we both won't be able to go to the park with you together all the time. And we've been doing better with, like, one of us only going, like, in the morning or something with him. But if it's the weekend, which probably typically on the weekends we would go together, we do go. But with the new baby, that might not always be the case, especially in the early parts of having them home.
And then, you know, what were we excited about the first time? Seeing, you said seeing me with our new baby. You were excited for that. And I said just the baby. I was just so excited. And that they would laugh at my jokes. And successfully, that has happened currently.
I don't know why he thinks you're so funny.
I'm so funny. Now, what
a
are we?
3-year-old thinks you're so funny.
Yes, my jokes are for him. What are we? And then, so what are we still not prepared for? You know, we just had another appointment, anatomy ultrasound, and I don't think I will ever be prepared for those skeleton shots from above of their face.
I know, it's so terrifying.
It's so terrifying. I'm like, what scary movie am I in? I kid, but still, we were just like, ooh, taken aback. And then, yeah, I think just like we said earlier, balancing a newborn and a preschooler who enjoys being the only child, currently. Yeah, I think that's the part that we're gonna, that I'm both excited and anxious about, because he's such a sweet kid, and I know when he's around, when we see him around other babies and other smaller kids, he's so nice with them and gentle.
Yeah, he's always been really gentle. Remember, he met our really good friend's son, who's he's about over a year,
almost a year and a half
older than him, and he was very, very sweet. He's always been super gentle, and he knows that it's a baby, so he was just holding his hand. It was the cutest thing ever. And even now, still with like my sister, when she comes over with the dog, and she's like, he's gentle with Burger, right? He likes to do commands. He's like, sit down, Burger. Come here, Burger. Like, and he says Burger, and Burger just doesn't respond well to it.
The dog has no chill, anyways.
No, he does. Stop. He's like exhausted.
Not my child.
By the time they're done with the visit, he's so tired. He's like hiding underneath the stool. I feel so bad. But also, our son is also really tired. So it's really, I think that's the secret sauce we probably need to talk about a dog. Yeah, but think about how fast he'll get over having a dog. I know. Yeah. Cause how often does he play his piano now? Like never. But he does that with a lot of things. He'll go in rotation. And he's like, okay, like, and then the other day he was doing his matching word and picture things, and I was like, when did you? Yeah, I haven't seen that in forever. So like, you have to like almost take things away from him because to help him like see. But yeah, I think this time around, like, I was excited to see you with the baby, but I'm excited to see our son with the baby, and especially when I'm not talking about the early phases of the newborn, but like as they get older and playing together, because I really feel like he's going to be a good big brother. Like he has that in him. But just making sure that like he knows that he can still, because they have a big age difference. He'll be almost 4 years older than him by the time they come. So like that'll be interesting to see that dynamic. But like I had a good relationship with like my older brother, who was like, several years older than me. So like I'm excited to see that, and help them maneuver the age difference and stuff like that. And that's what I'm excited about more. Sorry. I mean, you too, like with the 2 kids.
No.
He'd be super cute dad. One strapped to him and the other one holding his hand.
I know. Today was so funny because when we were walking home, our son was like, I'm hold daddy's hand. We walk home. And I'm like, I'm never the first choice.
Mm-hmm. And then like you turned around, he's like, Mommy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that was short lived.
She's right there.
Yeah.
Yes, she's
I literally
behind
stepped
us.
away from him several feet away from him. Where's Mommy? Where's Mommy? Like, hello?
I know.
Am I here? So I think it'll be a little bit difficult. I think he might be fine with you holding the baby a lot. I think it'll be a big adjustment. I might have to get him a puppy or something.
I don't know.
My sister promised us she's gonna send us some books about how to be a big brother. So I'm still waiting for those in the mail.
We'll get them eventually. But I think that's really all. Do you have anything else you're anxious about? I think that's all I feel anxious about.
Yeah, I'm feeling more excited than anxious. I mean, there's no need to worry about. I mean, we got ourselves into this. This is what we asked for. Like, thank you. So I'm more excited than anxious. And like I said before, just being flexible and open to like, okay, things are not always going to go the way we want it to go. There's never a perfect time to start, having a family or growing your family. So like, I always thought you needed to line things up in a row and like we needed to be here and this needed to happen. But like you always end up figuring it out and making room for the things that are important. So I think we'll figure it out. Like we're a good team together. So I if it was with someone else, I'd be like, okay. Like Brian's we very much handle parenting as a partnership. So I think that is
an LLC for tax purposes. No,
you're so stupid.
Is that too over the head for a joke?
No, it's one of your dad jokes but like I think that's going to be that makes it really, really helpful. And like my sister's always like kind of reminding me too, like when sometimes I'm like, oh, like why do they have people have their kids out at like 10 o'clock at Walmart, outside. And she's like, some people, it's just them. And I'm like, yeah, of course. And like with my mom, at some point, she was a single mom as well. And I'm just like, somehow she figured out, made it work because like the age difference and stuff. So she didn't have to take everybody to the store. But understanding how important it is to have a partner and how, sometimes that can be seen as somewhat of a privilege, or even having a present partner. Like, who cares? Sometimes you're married, but one partner is working a lot or something like that. So I think we're truly blessed, or, that's the way we set it up. So that's what we get. And so I feel like that makes me less nervous for sure.
Put your hands in.
Okay.
On three, go team.
Okay,
One,
get away.
2, 3.
Go team. That's all for this episode, but make sure you're following the show so you know when the next episode is out.
Check out our website, liliesandloafers.com, for cooking and DIY inspiration and more updates from our growing family.
Millennial and Pregnant is a Lilies and Loafers original podcast. It's hosted by me, Fatima.
And me, Brian. Original music by Purple Planet. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.